The air was still. Smoke floated slowly above a small broken playground. It looked like no child had played here for weeks. A red swing moved gently in the wind, even though there was no sound of laughter, no footsteps in the sand. A small toy lay on the ground. It was a plastic soldier. One arm missing, one eye scratched. Around it were small footprints, burned into the dirt. The camera of a drone flew low, circling the toy. Then it moved up higher and higher until it showed the full picture. The park was gone. The town was gone. Only black ashes and twisted metal remained, somewhere far away. Inside a high-security Earth command station, the scene played on a large screen. Men and women in dark uniforms stood silently. No one spoke. No one needed to. A single image froze on the screen. A child's shoe melted into the ground. Then came the voice. Not from Earth. Not human. It was cold, metallic, alien. We took what was needed. The experiment failed. Your creature is dead. A few of the commanders turned away. One woman clenched her fist. One man simply closed his eyes. The alien voice continued, like it didn't care. No further actions are required. This message is final. The screen went black. At the edge of the room, a tall man stepped forward. His face was calm, but his eyes were storms. His name was Captain Elias Cade. He had fought in the quiet wars, the kind the public never heard about, the kind where failure meant extinction. He walked to the front and looked at the others. His voice was quiet but sharp. They didn't just take a child, he said. They took a human, a citizen of Earth, a daughter, a niece, a friend. He paused. They get one message. The room waited. Run. And with that word, the war began, but it would not be a war with armies or speeches. No flags, no peace talks, only a single black ship hidden deep inside Earth's moon. Its name was Nemesis 13. It had no registration, no light, no mercy. Inside the ship, the crew began preparing. There were only 6 of them, but each one was more dangerous than a fleet. There was Lyra, the sniper. She had been a child soldier once, and she never missed. There was Gray, an AI in a human body, quiet and always watching. There was Ren, don't ever spoke, but who could kill with anything, including her bare hands. Each of them had lost someone to the Zarn Empire. But this time, it was different. This time, the Zarn had crossed the one line that could not be crossed. They had taken a child, and not just any child. Her name had been Mari. She was 7 years old. She liked stars and bugs and chocolate. Ice cream. She had lived in Sector 14 near the outer edge of Earth's colonies. It's a quiet place, safe, or so they thought. The Zarn came in the night, not an army, just one ship, one team, quiet, fast, evil. They said it was for research, that the child showed something ... different, something they didn't understand. They said it was an accident. They said the experiment failed. They said sorry, but there are some things you do not. Not to humans, not to Earth, not anymore, Captain. Cade stood at the window of Nemesis 13. Stars stretched across the black. Like silent witnesses, he remembered Mari's voice, her laugh, her smile. He had promised to protect her. Now he would keep that promise in the only way left. Set course for the Zarn border, he said. The ship moved silent and fast, slipping into deep space like a ghost with a mission. No warning was given. The first Zarn base was on a small moon, far from any central command. It was quiet, peaceful. They thought they were safe. They were wrong. Nemesis 13 came out of stealth above the base. In 10 seconds, all defenses were down. In 30 seconds. The power grid failed in 1 minute. Every weapon system was destroyed. The humans landed without speaking, one by one. They moved through the base, precise, cold, unstoppable. They didn't kill. Everyone, just the ones who knew, just the ones who gave the order. At the end, They left only one Zarnaleva general. High rank. Important. They tied him down and placed a small device on his forehead. It showed him Earth, not as it is, but as it could be. Billions. Angry. United. And then the device played. A message, Captain Cade's voice. This is your one warning. You have one chance. Run. Then the screen showed Mari's toy, the plastic soldier. Now whole. The Zarn general shook in fear. The team left him there alone, scared. Watched by satellites he couldn't see. Back on Earth. The message was sent to every leader. Every secret agency. Every shadow government. They all said the same thing. Let the crew do what must be done. No more peace. No more silence the Xarn had made. One mistake, they thought humanity was weak. They thought humanity was kind. They thought one child didn't matter. They were wrong. Because that child was human, and humans remember. Days passed. The galaxy watched. Other species waited, wondering what the humans would do. Some laughed. Some ignored it. Some prepared, but none truly understood what was coming. Only one thing was certain. The humans would not stop. Nemesis 13 had only just begun, and Captain Cade had only one goal. Justice, or something very close to it. Something colder, something final. He stood in the dark ship, holding Mari's toy. He had fixed it with glue and patience. Now, he placed it on the dashboard, a symbol, a reminder, and a promise. They had taken her life now. He would take everything else. 50 years ago, Earth was silent. After the great solar conflicts, humanity made a choice. They stopped talking to the galaxy. They turned off their beacons. They closed the borders. No trade, no diplomacy, no noise. They said Earth was tired of war, but the truth was different. Earth was watching, listening, preparing. While other empires grew greedy and lazy, humans changed. They built hidden fleets, trained secret soldiers, and created weapons. They never showed. They waited and waited until the Zarn made their mistake. It was only one child, only one life. But it was enough. Now the silence was broken. The galaxy expected armies, fleets, explosions, but no ships came. Only one Nemesis, -13 dark. Fast, unmarked. The ghost ship, the galaxy, didn't know its name. Only rumors. It moved without being seen, attacked without warning, vanished like smoke. Inside the ship, Captain Elias Cade stood in the command room. He stared at a large screen showing the Zarn system's planets. Moons, stations, he didn't blink. The voice was cold and steady. We will not ask again. We will not warn again. The child is dead. So now the message is simple. Run. Around him, the crew prepared Lyra, the sniper, cleaned her rifle with quiet care. Gray, the AI updated maps and threat scans, calculating thousands of outcomes. Ren sat in silence, eyes closed, already planning the next move in her mind. Cade stepped forward. This time he said, "We send fear." The ship turned and vanished into hyperspace. They didn't strike at a military base this time. They hit a Zarn communication hub station where thousands of signals passed through every hour. It was the center of Zarn control. They didn't destroy it. They shut it down. No explosions, no deaths, just silence. Complete silence. The Zarn Empire woke up the next morning to a dead sky. No messages, no orders, no answers. Confusion spread, panic followed, and then something strange happened. Every screen on every Zarn ship lit up. A video played. A child's voice, soft, innocent. "Why did you take me?" The voice repeated, again and again. "Why did you take me?" The message ended with the symbol of Earth, a blue planet slowly turning in space. No words, no threats, just the voice. That was worse than a warning. It was a promise. Across the galaxy, alien leaders held emergency meetings. They didn't understand this. Wasn't a war, no battles, No official declaration, but Tsarn outposts kept going dark. Ships. Supply lines collapsed. It was like fighting a shadow. The Tsarn Council gathered in a great crystal hall on their homeworld. Thousands of lights blinked. Behind them, alerts, losses, calls for help. They watched the reports. One general spoke. Humans were weak. They were peaceful, another said. We pushed too far. The head of the council slammed the table. We are the Empire. They will bend. But fear had already entered the room. Then a whisper came through the sistema. Transmission that wasn't theirs. The voice of Captain Cade. You called her a creature. She was a child. The screen showed Mari's face, smiling, laughing, alive. Then it showed her body cold. Pale, gone, then nothing, silence, and then run. The Tsar knew now. This wasn't war. This was justice. Human justice, old, deep, and final. Meanwhile, inside Nemesis 13. The crew moved to their next target, a supply convoy carrying food, fuel, and weapons. No defenses. They didn't attack it. They simply boarded it, one by one. Every Tsarn worker was tagged and sent away in lifeboats. No, one was harmed. Only the ships were destroyed, burned in a clean fire. Nothing left behind. The message was clear. You will not be killed. You will be erased. From history, from memory, from the stars. The Tsarn sent spies to find Nemesis. 13 none returned. They sent a stealth ship with elite hunters. It exploded 5 minutes after entering. Human space, no warning. No trace. Across the galaxy, whispers grew louder. Some races asked, what if the humans come for us next? Others said, don't touch Earth. Not even a bird. One planet, the Trillion Republic, broke its trade deal with the Tsarn, just in. Cased on the dark hull of Nemesis 13, the crew watched the reactions. Lyra smiled. They're scared. Gray nodded. Good. Let them be. Ren stayed silent. Captain Cade looked out into the stars. Fear is not our weapon, he said. He opened a small box. Inside was Mari's drawing. A star, a flower, a happy family. He touched it with one finger. They forgot she was real, he said. Let's remind them. The ship turned toward another target, this time a research station where they had first tested on Mari, the place where she had died. Cade's eyes turned cold. No survivors. Lade's bullets. Code the Tsarn would learn something new. Humans do not forgive, and they never forget. The Tsarn general sat alone in the dark. His hands were shaking. His breathing was fast. His skin was pale blue, like all his kind. But his face was full of something rare for his species: fear. He had seen death before. He had given orders to burn cities, destroy rebels, crush uprisings. But he had never seen anything like the humans. They didn't invade with armies. They didn't speak at peace. Tables. They just came, quiet, fast, cold. And when they left, there was nothing left behind but silence and a message. Run. He remembered the black ship Nemesis 13. It came like a ghost. No lights, no sounds. It landed inside the base before alarms could even scream. Then the humans. Came 6 of them, only 6, but they moved like machines, like shadows with purpose, not wild, not angry. They didn't destroy everything. They didn't kill everyone. They killed just enough. Just the ones who gave the order, just the ones who watched the child die. The general had. Begged for mercy, for peace, and still, they didn't speak to him. They simply placed a device on his head and made him watch. He saw her. The child Mari he didn't know. Her name at the time, just a number, a project, a test subject. But the humans showed him everything. Her drawings, her favorite book, the way she sang to herself in the corner of her prison cell, the way she cried before she died. The humans showed him that she was real, and then, the voice, Captain Elias Cade. You have one chance. Run. And now the general ran. He was taken back to the Tsarn. Homeworld, the council met him in silence. He dropped to his knees. "They're not like us," he said. "They're worse. They don't want war. They want justice." "They want memory," the council argued. "They're just humans primitive. They don't have the power to threaten an empire." But even as they argued, more reports arrived. Another base dash gone, another ship dash missing, more systems cut off. One counselor whispered, "We killed a single child." And the head counselor whispered back, "Yes, but it was their child." Back on Nemesis 13, the crew was watching everything gray. The AI with human eyes smiled coldly as he read the enemy transmissions. "They're cracking. Their systems are falling apart." Lyra cleaned her sniper rifle. "Let them break. It's what they deserve." Ren stood in the shadows, sharpening her blades. None of them spoke about Mari, but they all remembered her. Because once, not long ago, she had laughed on the main deck of Nemesis 13. She had eaten cookies from Cade's secret stash. She had drawn flowers on Ren's cold weapons. She had made Gray smile. She had made them human again, and now she was gone. "Captain," Cade stared at her photo on the wall. "We sent a message," he said. "One the galaxy cannot ignore." "What kind of message?" Lyra asked. Cade turned slowly. His eyes were fire, hope. "They didn't attack a base this time. They went to a prison, a secret Zarn prison, where hundreds of alien children were kept. Research subjects, Zarn called them. Victims, the humans knew." Nemesis 13 landed quietly in the dark of the prison. Moon. The guards were asleep. The scientists didn't have time to scream. The team moved like ghosts. No shots fired. No alarms. Just silent steps in silent halls. They opened every cell, freed every child, and at the center of the prison, they left. A single message burned into the wall. She was one of them. Now they are one of us. Every child was given a beacon. It led them to ships. The ships led them home, across the galaxy. The story spread. Children rescued. Prison destroyed. No one killed, except the ones who deserved it. And then came the final message. Broadcast to every corner of space. It was Mari's voice again. Soft, sweet, full of light. "My name was Mari. I was 7 years old. I liked stars. I liked singing. But one day I was taken. I was called a number. I was called a test. I was not a test. I was a girl, a human, and I am not forgotten." Then Captain Cade's voice followed. "She was one child. We are billions. You hurt one of us. You face all of us." The final line was simple. "You have one chance. Run." The message played everywhere, on trading ships, on military stations, on government screens. The galaxy paused. The Zarn tried to block the signal. They failed. They tried to blame rebels. No one believed them. And one by one, their allies began to fall silent. The Trillion Republic, the Grath, even the neutral systems. They shut their doors to the Zarn, afraid humans would come next. Inside, Nemesis 13. Gray reported the latest results. 17 colonies left the Zarn alliance. 3 allies turned against them. Cade nodded good. Lyra frowned. "But that's not enough." Cade turned toward her. "We don't want them all to fall." Ren raised an eyebrow. Her first words in days. "We don't?" Cade looked out at the stars. "We want them to remember." Because revenge was not enough. Fear was not enough. But memory. That would last. And this war wasn't about war. This was about the future. Because the next time a species looked at Earth, they would think twice. They would remember Mari. They would remember the message. The galaxy thought Earth was peaceful. They were wrong. Earth had simply been waiting. And now, Nemesis 13 had delivered the truth, not with fire, but with a child's voice. Not with armies, but with 6 angry ghosts. And the message was clear. Humanity may be kind, but it is never weak, especially when you hurt their young. The galaxy was no longer laughing. In the past, many alien empires had seen Earth as small, unimportant, and quiet. A world full of weak creatures with emotions and soft skin. They had ignored the humans. Some used them, Some lied to them. Some studied them like animals. But now, the galaxy had changed. One empire, Zarn had crossed a line. They took a child. Now they were losing everything. Not from war, not from diplomacy, but from something else. Fear and silence. The kind of silence that grew colder every day. The kind of silence that meant someone was already watching. Someone was already there. Planets that once felt safe were now scanning the skies. Leaders no longer slept well. And the worst part? The humans never sent armies, only messages. Reminders, a child's voice, a captain's promise, a toy soldier left behind. A galaxy now lived inside a web, and they were starting to realize the web belonged to Earth. Inside the Zarn High Council, panic had replaced pride. For decades, they had ruled strong and without fear, but now they spoke in whispers. Another city lost, a convoy gone. No signal, no explosion, it's gone. Our allies refused to answer our calls. In the center of the room, the head counselor stared at a broken screen. Static played across it. This was their intelligence hub, once full of data. Now, useless, their information lines had been cut, and they didn't know how. But far across space, hidden behind the black edges of gravity wells and dead stars, Earth knew everything. Why? Because humans had placed satellites, tiny, dark, visible machines, in orbit around thousands of alien systems. They called them Watchers. They were small enough to hide behind space dust, smart enough to learn languages, quiet enough to go unnoticed for decades, and now they were active. Inside Nemesis 13, Gray stood over the main console. He had connected 419 Watchers in the last 2 days alone. His eyes glowed with soft blue light. His voice was calm. They are trying to move ships. We already know where. We can intercept them before they leave orbit. Captain Cade stood. Beside him, arms crossed. Do it. Lyra leaned on a railing, watching a screen showing alien news. They say, we're monsters now. Ren gave a short laugh. Good. Cade didn't smile. No, not monsters. Just mirrors. At the screen, it showed Mari's toy soldier again. The one he kept near the command panel, the one she had once played with before the Zarn stole her away. She had called it Captain Brave. And now, every time Cade saw it, he remembered her voice. She had believed in heroes. So now, Cade would be one, even if it meant becoming a monster to others. The Watchers had found something new. A hidden Zarn meeting. A secret one. No signals, no records. But a Watcher was already inside the asteroid base, floating quietly in a corner of the ceiling. It saw everything, and it transmitted the message. Back to Nemesis 13, the Zarn were planning to use a secret weapon, not a bomb, not a fleet, but a virus, a digital virus that could infect human systems. It was dangerous, fast, intelligent, but it had one flaw. It was built using the data they stole from the child Mari, her brain scans, her DNA, her memories. They had tried to copy her mind to create this weapon. They failed again, and they didn't know. Mari's mind had already been part of something greater, something human, because in the final days of her life, Earth had received a signal from her prison. A tiny heartbeat of data, and Earth had saved it. It had become part of the Watchers, part of Gray, part of Nemesis. 13 now. As the Zarn prepared to launch the virus, they didn't know it was already too late, because Mari was watching them, and so was Gray? I can stop the virus before they release it, Gray said calmly. Captain Cade looked at him. Can you make them fear it? Yes, then do it. Across the galaxy, Zarn systems began to go dark. Not from attack, but from something worse. The virus they had, created based on Mari, was coming alive, not in their enemies, but in their own systems. Messages played across Zarn networks in every corner of their empire. My name is Mari, the voice said. I am not a test. Their lights dimmed, their ships locked up, their databases erased. Over 60 stations lost. Control within hours. And then, the virus vanished. Gone. No trace. No damage. 2 humans, only to Zarn, and no one could explain how. The galaxy watched in horror. How did Earth know? How did they find the meeting? How did they hack an empire? And the answer was simple. The web. For 50 years, Earth had built it quietly. Not just weapons, but eyes, ears, whispers. They knew everything, and now the whispers spread on trading ships, in markets and military halls. One phrase repeated again and again: Earth sees everything. The fear grew. Species that once mocked humans now deleted every experiment they had ever done. Old research files, gone. Human DNA samples, destroyed. Human. Prisoners released and sent home. Not out of kindness, but out of fear. Because the web was growing, and no one wanted to be caught inside it. On Nemesis 13, the crew rested for the first time in days. Lyra sat beside Ren. They say we're myths now. Ren said nothing. Gray listened in silence, connected to thousands of watchers at once. Captain Cade stood in the dark. He looked at Mari's picture again. They were winning. But he didn't feel victory, not yet, because justice was not finished. One piece was still missing. The lab. The one where Mari died. The one where it all started. It still existed. Still hidden. Still untouched. But not for long. Cade turned to his crew. We find the lab, he said, and we end this. They nodded. No one asked why no one needed to, because this was not just revenge. This was memory, and humans, they'd never forget. The Zarn were afraid, not of human weapons, not of human numbers, but of human silence. It was a strange kind of war. No fleets, no marching armies, only 6 people. And yet, the Zarn were losing. Every day more outposts went dark, more allies turned away, more systems stopped responding. They tried to understand, tried to plan, but they were always too late, because every move they made, the humans already knew. It was like Earth had spies inside their minds, like ghosts were following their every step. So now, the Zarn decided to strike back. They chose their best assassins, silent, cruel, fast. Each one had killed before. Each one had trained to kill anything. Even the strange humans. Their mission: destroy. Nemesis-13. Not stop the war. Just stop that ship. They tracked the ship through old data trails. Half-wrecked satellites. Dead relay stations. They followed dark paths through starless regions. And finally, found something. A trace. The black signature of Nemesis 13. Weeks old, but still there. It was near an abandoned human station floating. Near a dead planet, the assassins arrived quietly. No signals. No lights. Just a whisper in space. They entered the station, empty, cold, still, but something felt wrong. Too quiet, too clean. They found nothing. No humans, no AI. No weapons. Only one thing. A single drawing on the wall. A flower. Crayons. A child's drawing under it. She remembers everything. One assassin stepped closer. Click. Too late. The station exploded. Silent fire lit the dead space. Nothing escaped. No. Bodies remained. Only one thing drifted through the black. A child's toy. A small plastic soldier. Captain. Watch the scene. From a safe distance, he stood in Nemesis 13's observation room with Lyra, Ren, and Gray beside him. They sent hunters, Gray said. They're running out of ideas. They thought they were the only ones who could set traps, Lyra said, loading her rifle. Ren just smiled. They were moving toward their next target, the lab, the place where Mari died. The place Earth had been hunting all along, but it was more than just a building. It was a secret. The Zarn had hidden it inside. False moon. A lab disguised as a mining rock. They thought no one knew, but the Watchers had found it, and now the Nemesis crew was going in. As they flew, Gray explained what they knew. The lab was used for special testing. Not just on Mari. There were others. Aliens. Even Zarn children. Cade frowned. They used their own. Only the poor ones, or the ones no one would miss. Lyra clenched her fists. This isn't science, it's evil. Gray nodded. It tried to copy something. Something human. Something they couldn't understand. What was it? Ren asked. Gray paused. Kindness. The Zarn had tried to create emotion, build it like a weapon, but they failed. Because kindness isn't. Data. It's real. And they didn't understand that. Mari was the power. Not because of her DNA, but because of her heart. Now, that lab was going to pay. They reached the false moon in silence. The lab had shields, cannons, drones, but they didn't matter, because Nemesis 13 had already infected their systems days ago. The Watchers had sent the virus ahead. When the humans arrived, the lab opened its doors automatically. No alarms, no defense. Inside, the air was cold and dry. The walls were white, clean, and empty. To clean, Lyra felt it in her bones. This place is wrong. Ren nodded. Feels like a tomb. They moved room to room. Empty cages, surgical tools, broken toys, and files so. Many files, each one labeled with a number. Each number once had a name. Gray connected to the lab's mainframe. He opened every file and sent them out to the galaxy. No. Secrets now. Let every race see what the Zarn had done. Let them all see the truth. And as the last file opened, the lights began to flicker. A voice came from the speakers. Weak, static, familiar. It was Miri, but not a recording. Not this time. Gray froze. I didn't load that. The voice repeated. Is someone there? The crew looked at each other. Then they followed the sound to the center of the lab. A pod cold, closed, glowing faint blue. Inside it was her. Mari, alive, or something like her. But her skin was pale. Her eyes full of light, not normal, not human, but not Zarn either. Gray scanned the pod. This is not her body. It's a clone, a copy. But the mind. Cade stepped forward. Can she hear us? Gray nodded. She's been alone for years. Cade touched the glass. Mari, he said. Her eyes opened. I remember you, she said. Tears filled Cade's eyes. You're safe now. But Mari looked confused. Am I me? She had memories, feelings, but her voice didn't sound like a child anymore. Gray checked the data. She's part of the virus. The Zarn copied her mind and accidentally gave it life. Cade whispered. She became their ghost. Now, she looked at them with sadness. They tried to make me a weapon. You're not a weapon, Cade said. You're hope. Mari looked at the others, then back at Cade, then let me choose. She reached for a button inside the pod. What are you doing? Lyra asked. I'm not meant to live like this, Mari said. But I can still help. She smiled and pressed the button. The lab began to shut down. Data wiped, systems fried, the virus mirror spread. One last time, not to destroy, but to protect. To shut down every lab like this, in the galaxy, to end the experiments forever. Gray watched the signal spread. She's freeing them all. Every child, every mind. The pod went dark. Mari was gone, but her gift remained. Across 100 systems, prisoners woke up to open doors. Machines stopped. Labs shut down. The galaxy changed. And everyone knew one thing. A human child had done. This not with weapons, not with hate, but with memory. Back on Nemesis 13. The crew sat in silence. No cheers, no victory, only peace. 4. Now Cade placed Mari's toy on the command panel again. She saved them all. He whispered. Gray nodded. She was never just a child, Ren said. She was the message. Lyra said. They looked out into space. Quiet again, but not empty. Full of ghosts, and not all ghosts. Haunt, some protect, some remember, and some never truly leave. The galaxy was quiet, but not calm. After the destruction of the lab, strange things began to happen. Zarn systems stopped working. Ships lost power. Weapons failed. AI. Cores shut down. It wasn't an attack. It was something else. Something gentle. Something final, like a hand turning off a light. The same message echoed through it all. I remember. The Zarn had tried to build a weapon, but they had built a ghost. Mari was gonna but not. Erased. She was part of every system now, not as a virus, as a memory. And memory is the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. Inside Nemesis 13, silence filled. The ship. The crew had returned from the lab, but something had changed. Lyra sat quietly, watching the stars. Ren sharpened her blade, slower than usual. Gray sat motionless, eyes glowing faintly. Like he was listening to something far away, Captain. Cade stood at the center console. Holding Mari's toy, it felt heavier, not because of weight, but because of what it meant. He stared at the black screen in front of him. No target, no mission, just one name. Mari Cade. Yes, Mari was his niece, his brother's only child. She had lived. On a colony far from the war, Cade had visited her once every year, brought her books, toys, ice cream. She called him Captain Uncle. She was the only family he had left, and now she was gone. Not once, but twice. He had buried her memory and then watched her clone fade before his eyes. But he was not angry. He was something else now. Cold, focused gray. Turned toward him. There's something you should see. He played a recording. It showed a Zarn Council chamber dark, hidden. Deep inside their capital, the voice of a scientist spoke. Test Subject 7 code name, MK, was unlike the others. Not just smarter, not just faster. She had something else. Did she have? The counselor asked. The scientist hesitated. We think it's empathy. The room fell silent. That's impossible, someone said. That's not measurable. She cared, the scientist said. Even for us. Even after what we did to her. The counselor growled. Ilden, you wasted her. Voice shook. She didn't survive the process. Her brain rejected the split. But we tried to rebuild her. Another voice entered. Dark, sharp. We have her DNA. We will make another. The screen froze. Cade said nothing. Ren stepped forward. They were making copies? Gray nodded. One more project remained. A final clone, stronger, weaponized. Where is it now? Cade asked. Gray looked grim. Still being built. Almost finished. On a deep core base inside their capital moon, Lyra frowned. They still haven't learned. Cade's voice was low. No, they have. That's the problem. This final clone was not like Mari. It was built from her, but not for her. It was a weapon, pure and perfect. Meant to destroy Earth if the Zarn fell. Meant to be the final blow. A child's body? A machine's mind? Heart removed. The crew stood silent. Gray brought up the map. The base is locked deep inside the moon. Shielded, guarded, no outside link. You're scared. Good, Ren said. Cade nodded slowly. We go. We end it. They entered the jump gate without a word. The galaxy watched as Nemesis 13 vanished again. No lights, no trace. Only the silence of coming justice. When they arrived near the Zarn moon, the enemy was ready. Dozens of ships, hundreds of drones, shield layers thick as ice. But they didn't see the second ship. Smaller, hidden. A drone carrier built by Earth's secret labs. It fired one signal. A false echo. A distraction. Every Zarn ship turned. And Nemesis 13 slipped through the side. Silent. Fast, invisible. They landed on the moon's surface. The team suited up. No words needed. They knew what this. Was that the end? They moved through dark tunnels, avoided cameras, disabled turrets. Every hallway was full of fear. Not theirs, the Zarn's. And then they reached it. The chamber at the center. Floating in a red tank was the weapon. She looked just like Mari. Same face. Same eyes, but colder, sharper, wired to machines. Sleeping Gray stepped forward. She doesn't have her memories, and she's not Mari, Cade said. No, but she could be, Gray whispered. If we give them back. Lyra looked shocked. You want to wake her? Gray nodded. Mari chose peace. Maybe. This one can too. Ren looked at Cade. Your call. Cade stared at the tank. He stepped close, touched the glass, and whispered, You didn't choose this. He nodded to Gray. Do it. Gray connected to the core. He uploaded Mari's final moments, the real ones. Her songs, her drawings, her pain, her strength. The tank began to shake. Lights flickered. Then the eyes opened, soft, confused. Alive. The weapon looked at Cade. You. Know me? He nodded. You're Mari? Or someone like her? Who am I? She asked. You were made to destroy, he said. But you don't have to be that. She blinked, then cried. Tears. Real. Lyra stepped back, shocked. She's feeling. Remembering, Gray said softly. The weapon looked around. I don't want to hurt anyone. You don't have to, Cade said. Sirens blared suddenly. Zarn. Soldiers entered, guns raised. They shouted in their alien tongue. Cade raised his hand. Don't. But the weapon stepped in front of him. She raised her hand. Energy exploded. A wave of force knocked the soldiers down. But none died. Only pushed back. I said no more, she whispered. The room fell quiet, and then the tanks around her, all the failed clones, shut down. She walked to the console, typed one code. The base began to shut down. Lights dimmed, doors opened. The weapon looked at Cade. I don't belong here. I wasn't born. I was built. You lived, he said. She smiled sadly. I will stay. Keep this place from ever waking again, no? Cade said. Do you deserve a life? Not yet, she said, but maybe someday. She placed Mari's toy in his hand. Keep her safe, then turned, and walked into the heart of the machine. The team escaped. The base sank. Into silence forever. Back on Nemesis 13, Cade stared. At the stars, they were brighter now. Less cold, Gray stood beside him. She made a choice. Cade nodded. They always do, Ren asked. Is it over? Lyra answered, not yet, but close. And in the quiet dark, the toy soldier sat beside. The command screen, watching, waiting, remembering. The Zarn Empire was collapsing. Not because of weapons, not because of fire, because of shame. They had taken a child. Now they had lost control. Systems failed. Colonies rebelled. Allies fled. Even their own people whispered in secret, the humans. Remember? And the worst part? The humans had not attacked them with fleets. They had sent truth, and truth spread faster than war. The galaxy had seen the experiments, the prisons, the children, and one voice haunted every broadcast. Mari's voice. I am not a test. I was a girl, and I remember. She was gone now, but her memory lived in every signal, every shadow, and still. The humans did not stop. The Zarn grew desperate. They gathered what was left of their old military command. What do we do? Commander shouted. Beg for peace. No. Another screamed. We still have one weapon. At the edge of the Empire, hidden in a gas cloud. A station had waited in secret. A last weapon. A final card project. Scorchfall. It was not a missile. It was not a fleet. It was a virus, not digital, not code, but a living weapon built from stolen. DNA, a mixture of human and Zarn, made from fear, designed to wipe out all human life if activated. It would spread fast, burn hot, and die with its host. The Zarn had created it long ago, in case Earth ever turned against them. And now, the time had come. A black ship launched from the gas. Cloud small, unarmed, but carrying something terrible inside. The Scorchfall seed. Once it entered Earth's atmosphere, there would be no stopping it. One last chance for revenge, one final punishment. But what the Zarn didn't know, Earth was already watching. Inside, Nemesis 13. Alarms flashed. Gray looked up from his station. They've launched something. Stealth class. Unregistered. No weapons. No signal. Where is it headed? Captain Cade asked. Gray's voice went cold. Earth. The room fell silent. Cade stood still for 3 seconds, then intercepted. Teen turned and vanished. Into hyperspace. It reappeared near the edge of the solar system, and there it was. Black dart cutting through space. The Scorchfall carrier. Small, fast, almost invisible. Lyra locked weapons. I can shoot it down. Gray held up a hand. No, if we destroy it here, the virus could still spread. Ren frowned. So what do we do? Cade's face was hard. We board it. It was suicide, but they had no choice. Nemesis 13 caught the ship in a net of stasis beams, pulled it into a docking bay. The virus carrier was cold, silent, dark inside. The air felt dead. Gray scanned the walls. Radiation? Biological residue? This thing is full of death. They moved carefully, room by room. No crew, only machines. And in the core chamber, they found it. A glowing pod, inside. Liquid fire. The Scorchfall virus. Lyra stared. Can we destroy it? Gray shook his head. If we open the pod, it spreads. If we shoot it, same result. We can't take it back to Earth, Ren said. Too risky. Cade looked at the pod, then at the others. I'll fly it, he said. Everyone froze. No. Lyra said. That's suicide. We'll send a drone, Gray said. But Cade shook his head. It's got biometric locks. It needs a living pilot. They stared at him. He didn't blink. It was always going to end like this, he said. Mari, I brought this war. I finish it. Ren stepped forward. You're not alone. I have to be, Cade said. This is humanity's price. He turned to Gray. Set a course into the sun. Once I'm close, blow the engines. Trace. Left. The crew stood in silence. Then one by one, they nodded. Lyra walked up and placed Mari's toy soldier in his hand. She would want you to have this. Took it. Held it tight. Boarded the carrier alone. The docking doors closed. Cade sat in the pilot seat. No fear, no regret, only memory. As the ship moved toward the sun, activated the recorder. His last message, Earth was quiet once. Not because we were weak, but because we were watching, listening, waiting. He looked at the toy in his hand. You hurt one of ours. Just one. And now you've seen who we are. He smiled faintly. We're not monsters. We're not gods. We're human, and we remember. The sun grew brighter. The ship trembled in Nemesis 13. Gray's finger hovered over the trigger. The team watched. No one spoke. Cade's final words came through. Tell them. Mari won. And then dash light, silence gone. The ship melted into the heart of the sun. No, and virus. No death. Just peace and memory back on Earth. The skies stayed blue. The people never knew how close the end came, but far in space. Messages spread. Captain Elias Cade died to save his world. The humans paid the price. And still they ask for nothing. Even some of the Zarn wept. They sent word across the stars. Not an apology. Not a treaty. A surrender. They would never touch Earth again. And they would remember Mari, the girl who was taken, and the man who answered. Not with hate, but with honor. Back on Nemesis 13. Lyra stood at the window. She whispered, We finished the war, Ren said. We didn't finish the memory. Gray turned. There's one more thing to do. Deep in the dark, ... something stirred. The final part of the story had begun. The war was over. The Tsarn had surrendered. Their ships stood down. Their labs were gone. Their soldiers left their posts. But even in peace, the stars were not quiet, because something strange was happening. Across the galaxy, species that once mocked humans now listened to them, watched them, and wondered, who were these humans? What made them fight so hard? Why had they risked everything? For a child, the answer was written in silence and in memory on Earth. A statue was built, simple, small, a girl sitting under a tree, holding a toy soldier, her name carved in every known language, Mari Cade. People came from far planets to see it, Tsarn, Trillion, Grath, even old enemies. Some wept. Some just stood quietly. They didn't come for. They came for her, the child, who never fired a gun, the girl who became a voice, a ghost, a message. The stars had watched her die now. They watched her live forever. On Nemesis 13, the crew was not done. Even after Cade's death, the ship kept moving, helping freed colonies rebuild, escorting orphaned children home, spreading Mari's story. They didn't speak of revenge. Anymore they spoke of justice, of memory, of choice. One day a strange signal reached them, faint, scrambled. Almost a whisper, Gray cleaned the signal, rebuilt it. The voice was familiar. I'm still here. It's Mari, not the clone. Not the virus, the real one. From long ago, the signal was old, sent from the prison, before she died, buried under layers of static, forgotten until now. She was singing a simple song about stars and flowers. A lullaby. Ren looked away, her eyes wet. Lyra said nothing, just sat with her head down. Gray backed up the file, saved it everywhere. Because now the story was complete, not of war, but of love. Because this was never just about humans fighting aliens. This was about a promise, a simple one. We don't forget our own. The galaxy changed after that, not with treaties, not with parades, but with quiet choices. Old empires shut down there. Labs' new colonies wrote laws to protect children of every species. Even the Tsarn began to change, slowly 1 year later. Small moon once used for war, a group of Tsarn built a school at the center, statue, a child, and a soldier. It was not a sign of fear, it was a sign of respect, back on Earth. A ceremony was held. Not big, just a circle of people. Gray was there. Lyra, Ren, and the thousands who had followed their journey. A small light blinked on every screen. Mari's song, playing one last time. No speeches, no guns, only memory. Above them, the stars twinkled, peaceful. Watching, a voice from the crowd whispered, "They took one child." Another answered, "So we reminded them what a child is worth." No monuments needed to say more. Everyone already knew. Because now the galaxy understood something they had forgotten. Humans may love peace, but they love their own more. And if you take one of them, they will cross stars. They will burn silence. They will build memory from ashes, not because they hate, but because they care. And that is their greatest weapon. The screen faded to black. One line appeared, in memory of Mari. Cade. She was only 7. But the stars remember her. The end series. A child was murdered. Now humanity hunts the Empire.